Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today we're going back to Cali. So here we got something I'm excited to share with you today are these tiny little gold tokens that were produced during the California gold rush and shortly thereafter because there was a shortage of currency originally. Seems to be a kind of a running theme if you pay attention to some of the items of numismatic lore over the centuries here. Shortages of currency or specie or coinage has always created other types of metals, tokens, and items that people will use as currency. And this is fun because I'm glad to get a little group of these in. California gold tokens, and they came in many different denominations and shapes, and we'll go through that today. So they came in $quarter, $half, and $1 denominations. And so this one is a 25-cent piece. That's that 25-cent, gold 25-cent. This BG number, that's a reference to the main catalog that's used. So when you look at an auction or somewhere else, you'll see that number to help identify the coin. And we'll go back and look at some of that stuff in a bit, but I just want to kind of run through these. We're not going to pay too close of attention to the grading for now, just because that's another video for another day probably on these guys. But the fun thing is we get to see some of the different shapes and sizes here. Now the hard part is some of these PCGS holders, it's hard to tell looking at them whether or not the coin is actually round or octagonal. So they come with both round and octagonal shapes. You can just see the corners from a distance on this, right? So you've got your round ones and your octagonal ones, and then you've got your 25-cent, 50-cent, and dollar. So that's 6 varieties, and you also have, this is an awful holder, you also have your Liberty head, and you've got your Indian head style. So 1871, you can see, I got to clean this case up, you can see that too, $half. This is why we sell those little plastic holders that go over these cases so you don't get them all schmutzy like that. So you can see 1871. And so there's 12 main varieties. Let me see if I've got a, here's one. So we've got our Liberties and our Liberties, we got our rounds and our octagonals, and we have our Liberties and we have our Indians, our Native American style. And you can see actually just how nice these come. Undoubtedly, they were struck up and they were lost to time. It would be nice to probably get these reholdered in those new air holders that NGC is using, where it's just in between a thin piece of film, because these things are tiny. And I've always been amazed that they mount them in these holders like this without absolutely destroying the coin. So here we've got a round, we've got an Indian style, and we've got a $quarter. And so most of the, you'll see a lot of these on the internet that are just reproductions. Usually they won't tell you that they're reproductions, but usually they won't have the denomination. They won't say dollar. Some of them won't say cal. This one, MS64 PL, and there's just a lot of different varieties of these. So they're actually saying this is a 72/1. And you can see how much activity is going on there. Let's see if we can get a closer look at this here. A little bit. You can see that there's a lot going on right on the rim, so it's hard to tell on that. You can't really see the 1 under the 2 necessarily. So most of these guys, you can actually pick up kind of lower grade AU coins for a lot of them for, $150 to $250. Some of the UNC coins you can pick up for that, right? Some of the uncirculated versions you can buy for, $300, $400. And this is my favorite piece in the group, right? So you can see with the NGC holder, you can see when the coin is octagonal really easily here. But look at the color on that sucker. This is kind of a primo piece. Another octagonal Indian $quarter. Denominationally, you're going to see mostly $quarter coins, and of course I use the term coins even though people will argue about that legally. Everyone argues about everything because everyone's got to be right all the time. So You know, these aren't issued by a government, so you know you can make some arguments about whether or not they are coins, but they did circulate as currency. They did trade on a daily basis. So the quarter dollars and the half dollars. Quarter dollars are the most common denominations, and then after that the half dollars, and then the dollars are the hardest to come by. Most of what I have available is going to be the quarters, so the 25-cent piece. And the interesting thing is that most of these are very similar in size, if not the same size. So this is a half dollar, right, round. And you know, they're almost identical in size to the quarter. They are larger, but it's just such a small move to go from the quarter to the 50 cent. I don't know if I can really see here through here. This isn't going to give you an exact view because we have the distance from one to the other. You know, this is the disadvantage of having things in slabs versus having things raw. And so if you want to build a typeset of these, you know, the thing to do is to look for, you know, the rounds and the octagonals. It's a 12 coin set. You get your rounds, your octagonals, you get your quarter, your 50 cent, and your dollar, and then you get your liberties and your Indians. And it's really a cool set to put together. And as always, there are lots and lots of books on this stuff. The fun things is if you can find old auction catalogs, because they'll have really nice pictures sometimes with kind of fun details in them. But this $3 piece, pardon me, this MS63 piece, 1856 octagonal Liberty, kind of cool. So of course there's a section on them in the Red Book. It's just a couple pages, and they give you very, very general ideas of what you got going on there. But then after that, you've got the California Gold fractional book here. This one is by Doring. This one's cool. So when you start to look, you know, they have them broken up, of course, by usually they'll have them broken up by your shape, denomination, and then by whether they're Liberty or Native American. And so when you look at the varieties on these, the detail is really amazing what they get into. I mean, they just talk about, you know, 18 berries on the wreath, 10 on the left, 8 on the right. And it's just down to the last little detail from one to the next. And you'll see here's the next one that looks the same. 26 berries. Look at, you know, so they go and they go and they go. Also, you know, this is actually the same book in two different denominations here. You've got the California Gold book by Ken Lee. And so similar kind of setup. Lots of words to describe them. Of course, this book is a little bit older, so it doesn't have all the pictures up front like you want to see them. So that's a little bit harder to tell what's going on. And of course, it all started with this, right? I mean, it all started with some gold. Now, guys weren't taking gold like this and turning it into this. I mean, they were getting those little itty bitty flakes, and turning them into these gold coins. Here's another one with a proof-like finish to it. They actually don't call this one proof-like, but you can see in that book that we just kind of glanced at that they actually list the coins as PL or not PL. And this one's a $half round, and you can just see how crude they are, which is one of the things that's kind of fun about these, is just how crude and unusual they get, and yet how nice they look. You know, so definitely an acquired taste. I know it's not for everybody. This is a 1875 MS62. That one's kind of PL, but they don't call it PL. See, because this one's PL and they called PL. This one, you got the octagonal quarter Indian style. I like it when they kind of just tell you on the label. So this is an older NGC holder before they started using the prong setting like you have on this one. You know, I just said that, and I'm wondering if this is somewhere in between. as far as when they were issued, because this is not the solid white all the way to the coin. This has this kind of see-through area that they try to make it so you can see, but it really didn't help much. But these really weird things on the dies, those are all kind of accounted for in the numbering system. So when you see like really big die cuts and stuff, lots of times they'll have those up there. MS62PL on this guy. And anyway, just a fun area to collect, a tough thing to put together as far as a typeset goes. And really interesting pieces of history. Most of these are going to be made, you know, from the 1850s, from the gold rush on the way up into the 1870s and 1880s. You know, they circulated as coins and as currency, and people, because they were gold, and so people would use them. All right, guys, leave some comments down below about what you think of these guys, if you have them, if you collect them. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.